clap. This is terrible. I'm bad at clapping. Good enough? We'll find out. Well, hello humans. My name is Dael Kingsmill, and I haven't uploaded a video in the last week. If you don't follow me on Twitter, you may not know that that's because my kidneys tried to murder me, and now I live in fear, and I'm drinking a lot more fluids than I used to. Kidney stones, kids. They're a lot of fun. I was going to put on eye makeup, but I forgot, and so this is how we live now, because I've already started recording. Today we're going to find out what happens at the end of Culhwch and Olwen, this Welsh epic that we've been dealing with, and we'll also find out whether I can actually remember everyone's names without having the notes written in front of me. Someone, somewhere in the comments, said that they would appreciate a refresher on who each of the characters that we're talking about in this story are. And I'm not sure if I know. So, I mean, I can try. But ultimately, you don't need to know who everyone mentioned is, because we keep being told about, like, Arthur's second cousin's uncle. And I don't want that in my life. Juice. So, the important people. Who are the important people? Kilhwch, important. He's Welsh. He's the son of some king guy, and he's kind of been blessed with having to marry Olwen, who's one of the most beautiful people in all of the British Isles, but has a very protective dad, Ysbyddaden Pencawr. Ysbyddaden Pencawr, he is protective of his daughter and will not let her marry anyone and keeps killing those people who try to marry her, not necessarily because he loves her and wants to keep her safe, more because he knows somehow that he will die the day that she gets married. Also, he might be a giant. I'm pretty sure he's a giant, but technically, the Mabinogion hasn't mentioned that he's a giant yet, so I was just waiting to see if they would bring it up at a totally different, less relevant point, and they haven't yet, so, just telling you now, that's a thing. Chip and me, rescue rangers. So that's Kilhwch. We've got Olwen, we've got Ysbyddaden Pencawr, who's our villain. Then you get Arthur, King Arthur. I probably don't need to explain who that is. I trust you to know who King Arthur is, to have heard of King Arthur. And a bunch of his knights, alright? But the only knights that you actually have to remember who they are Kai. He was kind of like a second in command, but also kind of like a natural leader, and he would make decisions, and he would sometimes fight Arthur on his decisions. Also, he had a bunch of superpowers, but we talk about that in like episode 2. But he was pretty cool until he did a bunch of good stuff, and Arthur made fun of him for it, and sang a song about how lame Kai was, and so Kai was offended and left. Bedwyr, who was Kai's best friend, and who is like the fastest swordsman in the world, but also only has one hand, and like a bunch of other stuff. He's really cool. I believe Gurahir was the name of the bard guy, who he can just speak every language. That's his really cool thing that he does, so they keep utilizing him to like talk to animals or people from distant places or whatever. Plus Manu, who was kind of an illusionist wizard type guy, and that dude that they picked up from the sheep herder. He has a name. He didn't have a name, but they gave him a name. What's his name? What's your name, child? Goru. They picked him up when he was released from being locked in a box by his mum and dad, who didn't want him to go after Olwen. So he's like, I think he's technically the nephew of Ysbyddaden Pencawr and like the cousin of Kilhwch. Yeah, I think that's right. But hopefully that's all the information that you actually need to follow the rest of the story. On to the story proper! So where did we leave it last time? Arthur was a prick and made fun of Kai, and Kai left. At this point, more mini adventures happen. None of them are particularly interesting for a good long while. And then they hunt like a practice boar. I mean, I'm sure there's a reason they're hunting this boar, but it's not the main one. The one who I can't say the name. What? How do I? Okay, no. I have to say it. Alright, I'm gonna say it. Once and for all. Where's the damn book? Don't break anything. Okay, so it's Twrch Trwyth. So Twrch Trwyth. We're going with it. Twrch, come back to me. I'm Treebeard. I dressed as Treebeard for a party once. So they go hunting this non-Twrch boar and deal with it pretty easily, because by now they've collected like 9 magic dogs or whatever, and one of their dudes like cleaves the boar in half with an axe, and it's like, well done, but I still don't understand why they were doing it, but I trust that it had some purpose. But now, it's time for the real deal. They're gonna go and they're gonna deal with Twrch, the real boar with the comb on his head. He's got like a comb and a razor and some scissors. Really, if you're jumping into the story at this point, there's no hope of it making sense. They had to get the grooming products from between the ears of this boar, Twrch, who wasn't really a boar. He was a king that was transformed into a boar as punishment for being the worst. And he stayed the worst, and now he was just a super pig. So I mean, that was a plan that fell through. They have to get this grooming stuff, but they know that it'll be useless. Like, why bother going in and fighting this superpowered boar that no one has ever been able to successfully hunt if it doesn't even have the stuff on its head that we need to hunt it for? And so they get Manu to use True Polymorph. He turns into a bird and he flies off to the den of Twrch and his 7 little super baby piglets. And he gets there and he can see the comb and the scissors and the razor in between the ears of Twrch, and he just thinks, if I could just fly down and snatch them off his head now, we could save ourselves so much trouble. So he flies down to try to get the goods from off this pig's head. But alas, he is not successful. He comes away with only a claw full of bristles in his birdie talons. And what does he get for his trouble, for his pains? He gets more pains, because the boar Twrch rises up and shakes angrily. And apparently he's venomous, and some of that venom gets on Manu in his bird form and makes him sick. And he's sick forevermore. It's never relevant again, but it's just, you know, something to remember. Don't try to steal combs from evil king pigs, because you might get poisoned. It's a cautionary tale we all grew up with. Then they try to get this cauldron from the kings of Ireland. And again, it's in amongst a sea of names and place names, and I don't quite know what's happening. Could it be that fancy cauldron from Irish legend? Okay, apparently it might have inspired the cauldron of Kilhwch. Is that it? Is that right? Which was one of the 13 treasures of Britain, but it's probably not the same thing, but it might be the same thing. But actually Arthur just needed it, not for any of its superpowers, but just for the wedding banquet. They're just taking a break from the pig thing for the moment. So they go and they request this cauldron from the King of Ireland or whoever. And because we're talking about King Arthur here, King Odgar is like, yeah, sure, you can totally have it, but I don't actually have it on me. It's kept by another dude, and I'll just request that he give it to you. Why didn't I write down any names? Diordanach, that's the name of the guy that we're talking about now. He owns the cauldron. This story must be so hard to follow, I'm so sorry. Diordanach is like, no, it's my cauldron, I'm not giving it up. Not for no one, not even Arthur. And so, of course, Arthur takes his boat and he takes all his people in his boat and he goes over into Ireland and to visit Diordanach, who's like, yeah, okay, I guess you can come in. And then Arthur and his peeps eat everything for a while and then demand the cauldron because they're kind of the worst. And Diordanach still says no. He's like, if I was going to give it to anyone, I would have given it up when King Odgar asked me to. So, no. So Bedwyr, who didn't leave when his best buddy Kai did, who's still hanging around with Arthur, steals the cauldron, gives it to one of Arthur's servants, and a fight ensues and they start a war with Ireland. Arthur, forces the Irish army into retreat, and so then he and his folks can escape with the cauldron, and then they come back, and by the time they come back, the Irish are like, okay, we don't want a war. And so then I think the Irish side with them, and then they go back to hunting the pig. This is just like, oh my gosh. So they're hunting the pig. They're hunting the pig. Twrch. And they keep trying to fight the boar, but it goes really badly, and the boar keeps winning. Like, it keeps just destroying huge swaths of Irish countryside. And this time, they get Gura here to true polymorph into a bird, because they think, aha, this time we'll send the one who can speak any language, and he can talk to the boar and his 7 little boar sons, and we can try to strike a deal. And Gora here, true to his high charisma score, remembers that that story about how Twrch he wasn't always a pig. And he comes in as a bird and he says in pig language, hey, by he who turned you into a pig, we demand that you just come and talk to Arthur. We just want to talk to you. We just want to talk to you. Yeah, that's always trustworthy. Always trust that. And the pigs are like, no, we don't want to talk to you. We don't want to talk to anyone. Our lives are hard enough having been turned into pigs without having you lot coming and trying to fight us all the time. Just spending all your time hunting us, trying to kill us. We don't want to talk to Arthur. Arthur's a jerk. And Gora here, I mean, bless him, he's trying. He says, look, we don't want to kill you. We have no interest in killing you, all right? We need to get all the grooming products from your pig king's head. That's all that we want. We just thought that we had to fight you because we were told you would never give it up unless you were dead. And the pigs say, we will never give those up unless we are dead. So I mean, hey, the fighting resumes. And even further, the pigs are super offended by all of this, so they've decided that they're gonna go back to Arthur's land and they're gonna destroy everything they can there. They're gonna wreck stuff up. Trashing everything. And then there's just a really long, boring piece of exposition where it's like, the pigs went here and Arthur and his people went there to fight them, and I mean, some people died, but no one that you've ever heard of before now, and the pigs are still okay, and they go somewhere else, and then we fight them there. Alright, so where are we after we skip all of that stuff? Like, all of it. Blah, 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 blah. The pigs start to threaten Cornwall, and Arthur gets there and he's like, no! This is the last straw. We're not letting the pigs take Cornwall from us. I'll die before the pigs get into Cornwall. And there's a river called the Severn. And it's got like an estuary and stuff. And he gets everyone together. And they basically surround Twrch the boar. And they kind of trap him in the river, grab him by his feet, and stick him down so that he's overwhelmed by the water and can't get up. And while they're all keeping Twrch stuck in the water of the river, a bunch of Arthur's knights come swooping in from the other sides on their horses, and they grab the scissors and they grab the razor, and the only thing left is the comb. But just before they can get to the comb, oh, Twrch, he overpowers them and he gets up out of the water again, and he nearly drowns 2 of the men who are holding him down. And then the pigs go for Cornwall, and they get in and they start destroying Cornwall. And Arthur's not dead, so I guess he's just bad at keeping promises. How did they get the scissors? Oh yeah, I totally forgot! After giving us 1,000,000 pages of detail on every other not important step of this story, they don't even tell us how Arthur and co got the scissors off Twrch. They just say, well, it took a while, but they got him. They got them scissors. And so then they just drive the pigs into the sea, and doesn't describe them as drowning or dying or anything. They just kind of live under the ocean now. So beware of the pigs of the Mariana Trench. That sounds horrific. So Arthur's exhausted. He blocks out a week of his time to just collapse and be unconscious, but he makes the mistake of asking, that's it, right? That's the whole list. That's everything we need for this damn wedding. Kilhwch can get married now. We're done. And someone says, oh no, we totally forgot about the first thing, more or less, that was on the list is the blood of a witch. And so they go to this witch's cave and they try to get her blood. They send in 2 people to go and get the witch's blood, but she jumps out from behind a curtain or something and starts fighting them, fisticuff style. She leaps on one of the knights and has him by his hair, and she's got him on the ground, and then the other knight grabs her by her hair and pulls her down onto the ground, but then she gets up and kicks him and punches him, and she gets them both out of her cave. And then 2 more knights come in, but she beats them up as well, and people keep saying, no, my lord, no, Arthur, it would be beneath you to go and fight this witch, because she'll punch you and that'll be really embarrassing. But eventually Arthur got sick of his knights being bested in witch-based boxing matches. And so he just, he went up and he rang the doorbell, and as soon as she opened the door, he cleaved her in half with his dagger. So they finally headed back and they talked to Ysbyddaden, and they were like, look, we got all this stuff. And Ysbyddaden was like, fine, Kilhwch. Fine, Kilhwch, you can marry my daughter, but I'm not happy about it because really, Arthur was the one who did all the work, and now I'm gonna die. And as he was saying this, Goreu, who, I mean, really all of his brothers were murdered by Ysbyddaden, so I guess it's kind of like just desserts. As Ysbyddaden is complaining about Kilhwch not really doing any of the work, Goreu goes and cuts off his head and sticks it on a pike outside and like takes over the castle. And that's the end of the story. And Culhwch and Olwen got married. It's really anticlimactic.
No, I forgot in all of my belligerence, the best part is when they bring all this stuff back to Ysbyddaden Pencor and they say, fine, we're here, we've brought you the things, we're gonna shave you and Kilhwch's gonna marry your daughter, and they shave him with the razor and stuff they got from the pig, and they just like shave off all of the skin and flesh and leave him with just his skull from like the ears down, and he just spends the whole time going, yes, it's an excellent shave, thank you, I've always approved of my jawline.
We're done. We made it. That was our first foray into Welsh mythology, and it took a lot longer than we anticipated. But we made it to the end, didn't we, team? I'm proud of us. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you're not subscribed, you can subscribe to the channel to find what new adventures are on the horizon now that we're beyond episode 4, the finale of Culhwch and Olwen. If you want to keep up with my adventures, such as the kidney stone incident, you can go and follow me on Twitter at DailyDale. Do all the things, it's the internet, you know how it works. I can't think of anything else that I need to say, so apart from that I do believe that's it. I'm done. Email this to your grandma and I will see you some other time. Hydrate, it's important. You're welcome.